Welcome to Understanding Conscious Cryptids with me, Khat Hansen. I am bringing you this show in an attempt to educate you about the forgotten creatures and beings that exist alongside of us on this amazing planet that we call home. Many of these hidden beings are elusive and highly intelligent. Our ancient ancestors of North and South America knew of and understood these beings quite well. Many people are coming into contact with these elusive creatures, and they do not have any knowledge or understanding of what it is they are seeing and interacting with. This oftentimes leaves these individuals fearful and confused. It's my intention to shed some light and share knowledge through this series. I'm going to help alleviate that fear and confusion. It is time for the light to shine through the darkness. If you are interested in sharing your encounter, contact me directly at khathansen@yahoo.com, and I hope you enjoy the show. Hi everyone, welcome to Understanding Conscious Cryptids. Well, I decided to finally do this show after putting it off for so long because I've spoken before about the giants in the past, but I really gonna continue on about them, and I know everyone's a little tired of hearing about them from me, but it's really kind of important that I just say what I have to say in this video. The giants that we knew, the Chatha people, were called Nahalo. And Nahalos were giant beings. I mean, huge. And a normal giant, when I talk about them, is like 15, 20, 25 feet tall. But Nahalos are something else. Nahalo means these guys were huge, and there's a lot that I have dropped hints about and spoken about in various videos where I just touch on a subject enough to make it understood and then move on. But this time I really want to talk about the Nahalo, because there's a lot of things that are happening right now that fit in with what was foretold is going to happen. And I'm seeing a pattern here. And when I see patterns, if I don't solve the pattern, it drives me crazy. It's like a gigantic puzzle, and it works and works and works in my brain. And that's exactly what's been going on. It's been working in my brain. You see, everyone knows, if you're familiar with this channel, that I deal with cryptids. I speak with them, I interact with them. I've done so since I was 3 years old. Giants are no different. They are a cryptid, if you want. They're just another type of being that inhabits this earth, or has inhabited this earth in some cases. But what I'm going to tell people right now probably either A, make you call BS on me, or it's going to scare you. And I really don't want it to scare you. And I most definitely don't want you to call BS unless you really investigate the subject. Because what I have to talk about is really kind of far out there, but it's the truth. And I've always said, if I can't find you guys an answer, I'm not going to give you some BS. I'm just going to tell you straight out, I can't find you the answer. Well, this time I know the answer, and I think I better just spit it out and let it be out there, and everyone can deal with it. You either believe it or you don't. The Nahalo left. They were wiped out. But then there came a period of time where there were still small pockets of these beings here on the North American continent, and all over the world as well. And they weren't just, a thorn in our side. They were a thorn in everyone's side. They killed people, they ate people, they used people for slaves, playthings. They did whatever they wanted to do, and they were evil. Well, they were locked away by the same group of shamans that created the dogmen. And the shamans put them away and sent the worst of them, the leaders, away into another dimension. But there were some that were left on this earth, and it is my understanding that they were left here because the lesson was twofold. The reason was twofold. One, to remind us that we live with evil every day, and that it's not just small evil. And two, they were left here because, as my understanding goes, the dimensional doorway, the rift that they opened up, couldn't be kept open long enough to put them all through. You're going all over the world using this rift, trying to open it and put giants in. These beings are huge. Okay, so for the ones that are left alive, it's a matter of life and death that they get them over into the other dimension. So you have to remember that Native American cultures, and other cultures for that matter, all over the world at this point in time, were not huge. So that involved a lot of dragging and a lot of hard work to drag these things to the portals and shove them through. So it's my understanding, at least that's how I deal with them, is that they were left here in a form of stasis, locked away in trees and rocks. And I'm sorry right now if you guys hear jingle bells. That would be my cat Smudge. Anyway, they were locked away, and in some instances, because of the areas that they were in, there were not a lot of trees, or there were not easy access to forests. They locked them away into mounds. And when they locked them away into mounds, they oftentimes put them in with the shamans that were left, that were there, that were dying, the most powerful ones. So that way, all through that shaman's lifetime, he was responsible for that giant in that mound. And I'm talking about, for instance, excuse me, I'm talking about the mounds like you see in Ohio, that you've heard about, the Hopewell clans, etc., that were doing these, Cahokia Mound. The reason archaeologists think that these mounds were used for ceremonies, etc., etc., is because, well, they were used for ceremonies, but not like they're thinking. The effigy mounds and the mounds were used to lock away these spirits, these giants. And when they locked away the bodies, the bodies were cut up and destroyed because they knew that they needed a vessel, so to speak, to put the spirit into before it could really do some serious harm. So they chopped up the bodies and burned them. And the stories go that the dogs wouldn't even eat them. And then they took the spirits from these giants and they locked them into the mounds. And when the mounds ran out, they started locking them into trees and rocks. And this is where you can either believe or not believe, but I always try to back up what I'm telling you with some form of photographic evidence, so that you don't all sit there and go, oh my God, Khat's gone off the deep end again. Which we all know, I like to swim in the deep end, but hey, that's okay. And I don't wear water wings either. I just jump right in, And that's what I'm doing here, because I want you to understand that cryptids have an entirely different form than humans do. Humans were specifically created in Great Spirit's image. We were created by him to look like him and to have faults like him. Cryptids were not. Cryptids were inhabitants of this realm and other realms at different times. So they were never asked to have the gifts that we got from Great Spirit. So they therefore have a completely different mindset on how they're going to act, how they're going to behave. Now, that being said, they look at their bodies as temporary, and I mean extremely temporary to them, and know in their brains, in their hearts, in their minds that they are going to go onto the next form for them. So if you kill their body, they hang around. And if you have a shaman that can understand this and work with this, they can trap that spirit. And that's exactly what the shamans did. They trapped them inside the mounds so that they could never go anywhere again. They were locked in. And the only time that these beings were ever let out is in the event of anything that was catastrophic. And I mean, it literally had to be catastrophic, such as a tidal wave, half the United States falling off into the ocean, that sort of thing. These guys were locked into stasis in the effigy mounds and the regular mounds. And then when they ran out of room, they started locking them into the trees. Because they didn't know about chainsaws 200 years ago, 300 years ago, 400 years ago. How about 10,000 years ago? They didn't have any single ideas about what was coming. So they were scared, and they figured if they locked them into the biggest thing that they had, then they were stuck there and the rest of the world was all right. All right? You see, doesn't it sound good? But it doesn't work like that. It never works like that. Earthquakes happen, tsunamis happen, just anything out of the ordinary. Murphy's Law. If anything that can go wrong will go wrong. And that's exactly what happened with them. The settlers came to America and wiped everybody out and repopulated with Caucasian people. Now, they had no idea about the effigy mounds. They didn't know what to do. So they investigated them. Used to have people go out and dig with them. But that's it. They didn't have this craziness for the giants. And now we're fast forwarded to the giants are waking up. They're coming out of stasis because A, the locks on their mounds have been destroyed. B, the people who are practicing witchcraft and other types of magic are bringing them forward and leaving them out. They're waking them up and leaving them out. So these guys now are running amok around the world, and they're doing bad things, really bad things. And the people are watching. The right people are watching, and they're seeing. And now we're all starting to get a little nervous, because we see that they're letting today's people use witchcraft like they're blowing their nose. It's a chic thing to do. Hey, look at me. I'm a witch. Hey, look at me. I've got a Ouija board. Let's call something up. And, oh, by the way, I've lost interest halfway through this, and I really don't care what I was doing. So, should I really hang up this call to the spirit world? I don't know. Maybe I'll just leave the phone off the hook for a while. And so this lets them wander. Now they're out of the mounds, and now they're starting to come out of the trees. And I deal with them all the time. And I'm not afraid of them like that. What I am afraid of them like is I know that they can wreak complete havoc and devastation upon a people, a person, or worst of all, a culture. And once you start having these guys manifesting into our reality, we're in serious trouble because we cannot keep them away. Now, if you look at the pictures that you're seeing here, some of you are probably going, oh, craziness. Okay, she's ready for a Rorschach test. All I ask is this. If you don't see it now, make it small and back up from it. And if you still don't see it, that's okay. Come back to it in a week. Come back to it in 3 weeks. Come back to it in a month. I don't care. As long as you understand that giants are real and that giants are coming back to the earth. It's a terrifying thought. At least it is to me. I have no desire to interact with these beings. That case, I guess, would be terrifying to me because I don't want to see them running amok around here. I don't want to see them running around rampant. I want them to stay locked in their trees because when I walk out in those forests or I hike out there, I'm hearing their whispers constantly inside of my head. And as soon as I come up on where they're at, I start hearing the loud voices, the obnoxious voices, telling me horrible things about humans and about what they would do to all humanity if they could. So that's why I try so hard to keep them locked and gated, because they're horrid things. They're not our friends. And I really, really, really need for people to understand that. Because when you call up a giant, you're not going to get Shrek. You're going to get something else. And something else is usually 2 for 1. You're going to get a giant and you're going to get something else that travels through with him. And both of them are bloodthirsty, evil beings. I know a lot of people are like, oh my God, how can you judge something like that, Kat? You have no business judging. I don't. But I work with them, and I do understand that not only do they smell, but they are evil, beyond all comprehension. So, there's my lesson for you today. Take it for what it's worth. Take it or leave it. That's all I can ask of you. But I will say, thank you for tuning in. And thank you to my patrons over on my Patreon. I really am grateful to you for helping me get my Bigfoot archive up and going. If you like this channel and you like what I'm talking about, please hit like and subscribe. And if you know anybody who's interested in cryptids or may need my help, I'm always here. Thank you and have a great day.